Leave all hope. You open this video. Oh God, welcome back to L. I'm Jack, and today we have something a little different because this is the first episode of a new series for the main channel called INTEGRAM ANALISES. And for those of you that don't speak this fake Latin I keep making up for titles of episodes and series, it means complete analysis. It's not going to be always an analysis. Sometimes it could just be a talk or a little reaction for a trailer and stuff like that, even if those could be better in the Extraordinato, the extra stuff series. But as the first episode of this new, let's say, content form, and as a first episode, what better can I have if not the newest installment of one of my top favorite franchises in the gaming industry? Yes, I'm talking of Monster Hunter. Now, if you are a variety gamer, you probably at least heard of Monster Hunter in some way, one of the big game series under Capcom's long list of bangers that saw its latest iteration with Monster Hunter Rise that came out as an exclusive for Switch on March 26th of 2021 and that then released for PC in 2022 and all consoles on the 20th of January 2023. And as much as this main Monster Hunter series entry may have sold, it couldn't compete with its predecessor, the better brother, the big man, the alpha guy, Monster Hunter World, the first real big console title of the Monster Hunter series. A game that, as of March of 2024, sold more than 20.1 million units worldwide. This without counting the sales of its Master Edition that contains both the base game and the Master Rank expansion Monster Hunter World Iceborne, that if we were to count, would bring the numbers of units sold to a whopping 25.3 million units worldwide. Now, after World, we fans started waiting for a sequel to it. And in December of last year, during the Game Awards, we were all quite surprised to see this teaser appear on our screen. After the title Monster Hunter Wilds came up, I, like any other Monster Hunter hardcore fan, was pretty much stunned and ready to get back to my favorite gameplay loop. And so went back to playing Monster Hunter World like it was my Sunday retreat in church. But after that first trailer, we got nothing more for almost 6 months. Until the state of play that happened 2 days ago, on the 30th of May 2024, where we finally got our first serious look at Monster Hunter Wilds with its first official trailer that we are now going to discuss and, let's say, analyze. And here we are in the scene for the trailer Watchalong. Now, how this is going to work is that I will play the trailer to a predetermined point and then pause it and drag myself back to the scenes where what I'm talking about or what I'm going to analyze or discuss is back on screen. without further ado, let's get straight into the thing.
As soon as we find a good spot, we can get things set up and ready to go. And then we can get started.
This is gonna be great!
You bet.
I hope we find them soon.
This is an excellent point to stop. Now, first of all, right at the start, we have this image that hits us right in the face. Now, if you are a avid and old, it's a big word, an original Monster Hunter player, let's say, you had your go with Monster Hunter 4U Ultimate on the 3DS, and one of the first things you see in that game is exactly something like this, because the Caravaneer, the main, let's say, cause of our adventure in Monster Hunter 4U, had a sandboat, let's call it, very similar to this one that then gets attacked, and that brings us to the meeting of the rest of the cast of that game. And here, with a picture of the boat next to it, you can actually see the similarities between the two. Another thing, of course, almost no presentations are made in the game. We don't know anything about these characters, perhaps some members of our guild or expedition. We have I guess we can call it driver of the boat. I don't remember how you call it. And here we have what I already know to be our hunter and his palico. That the palico now talks, because this Eya was not by the two lovely ladies here in the background, but from our furry friend. Talking about the ladies in the background, the first one, it's her, blonde, with mechanic, let's say, glasses, something technical. And then we have her. She is clearly glasses, has a book, as you can see from this far away. It's probably going to be the quest giver. And we know she's the quest giver from the Capcom official site. But the side talk and the specific of every character will be had after the trailer discussion and analysis. So for now, apart from these characters, another very interesting fact is the phrase said by our blonde here.
I hope we find them soon.
The I hope we find them soon, it's most probably referring to some characters that went missing in this land, biome, whatever it's going to be, and we need to find them. Going back to our, confrontation with the boat for you, with the boat at the start of this trailer, we could perhaps hope in some sort of connection, even if I already know and you don't. We will see a lot more. I don't know if I should call them callbacks or connections to the For You universe. This kid right here has clearly, he doesn't talk. We don't hear his voice. The only thing we see is this close up of the necklace, talisman he wears around his neck, and his eyes just pointing out towards the sandy plains. Most probably, this kid is going to be our main focus during the story of Monster Hunter Wilds. It will be in some sort of way maybe connected with the final monster, like the two sisters were in Monster Hunter Rise, or perhaps he has some sort of, the necklace has some power or influence on monsters or weather or something. After the Capcom logo appears,
Incredible. I've never heard of a Karachnoth herd this big before.
One of them's got big spikes on its back.
that is one hell of a sequence of scenes. First of all, we get this sandy, almost completely empty plain with these lances almost, and a couple of monsters walking around. And right after, we go to a green oasis in the middle of the desert, where actually one of the newest monsters, or for you, one you never saw, just happens to be walking around. But then we see a complete 180 from the desert to some very grassy, wood, mountain background plains with loads of herds of monsters. Little fun thing.
I've never heard of a Karachnoth herd this big before.
One of them's
Of course, we're going to talk about the mounts in a second. Well, in a second is a big word, but
big
we're almost
spikes
there.
on its back.
Here we are. This little thing right here, where my cursor is, it's a baby Puke. And out of all and everything that was shown in the trailer, this little bugger was what's considered by the internet the most important things of all. Enough to say, these all come from Twitter, most probably all from avid Monster Hunter fans and players. And you know what? They are right. This is the cutest thing ever, and it deserves this attention. Moving on, we see a change. We go from grassy, lively, baby Puke, trees, grass everywhere, and herd of monsters, Renoblers, I think they are, to a empty, barren, almost completely dead, graying area. And what this transition tells us is that green can change to barren. And this also happens the second time when during this scene right here, we then have a change from a green, we can see water and plants are green and there's a sun, to a graying, dead, the water almost seems dry, monsters change in the habitat area, making us think and believe that there could be a climate or weather changing mechanic in this new installment of the series.
Now to lead it away from the pack.
Now, before we get into what's happening right now, here we have our newest bad boy. This came as a surprise to me because I didn't think they were going to show new monsters. I was thinking about more a classic monster maybe for gameplay, and then, new monsters for another occasion, but they have shown two new monsters. This one being the first. It's what I would call a very simply designed monster. It reminds me exceptionally of a Gos Harag, but on all four, like an Arzuros. And he probably has the same temper as the first one, while having the, claw attacks of the second one. We also see him here in an engine, accompanied by smaller, let's say, monsters of the same kind. This is very important. Similar monsters of the same kind. In the cutscene, we do see him getting mad at two smaller versions of himself, let's say. And here, he's running around followed
Now deleted
by
away
two
from
of
the pack.
those.
We'll make for the desert.
Right.
Connecting directly into what we were talking about, the main difference here is the size. These are way smaller, these in the back, while the foreground monster is way bigger. And what I noticed is, well, this one has red tinges in its fur. The background ones are mostly yellow without any sense of red. Now, the line said by a hunter is very interesting to me.
Now deleted away from the pack. We'll make
Now to lead it away from the pack, meaning that a new mechanic, most possibly of Monster Hunter Wilds, will be the packs of monsters. When a monster is in a pack, the monster you want to hunt is probably different from the other members of the pack itself. As I just said briefly before, this has red in this fur, the others are smaller, so he is our objective. In this scene, we also have to talk about the return of the, let's say, very beloved and not exactly used at full potential Clutch Claw 2.0 of World. Here, we can see our hunter, while riding our mount, is using this new version of the Clutch Claw to pick up what I presume is a slingshot ammo, like in World, and then it's using it to trigger
for the desert.
the now officially back biome traps. You know, like in World, collapsing trees, rocks, stalactites, stalagmites, and other stuff like that.
The sandstorm.
Now, brief pause before we get into the gameplay without even having to move backwards into the video. The sandstorm was actually already shown in the first trailer. The teaser ended up with this huge sandstorm just coming and you running away from it. This mechanic, it's probably part of that weather changing, okay? The weather changing mechanic is what is going to be the newest and hottest thing in Monster Hunter Wilds when it comes out. But now let's watch the gameplay. Let's look at the core of Monster Hunter.
Now commencing the hunt by order of the guild.
Some great interaction with the ambience. Wait. Now, before we move on, I love this thing with all my heart. I want a plushie of it, I want a statue of it, I want to hunt it, and I want his armor to be good so I can wear it for the entirety of the gameplay of Monster Hunter Wilds. Because this flicking frog, it's awesome. Back to seriousness. Some classic great sword gameplay. And here we can see some new interactions in which, against what World and Rise had, which were turf wars between large monsters, it appears that smaller herds of monsters can also decide to attack a bigger one. And also, in opposition to the other monster we got shown, this monster, the frog, seems to roam alone, leaving us to believe that monsters who are described to live in packs probably do, and those that are not said to live together in packs are going to be classic Monster Hunter monsters and be alone. Another important thing we saw is this moment right here. When a hunter calls his mount, and instead of arriving, having to get up and then press the button to get on it, like a Palamute, the mount directly picks the hunter up, running away from the dangers of the monster. Now, this could be very, very, let's say, enraging or disturbing or annoying for some of the most veteran hardcore gatekeeping fans of Monster Hunter, because just like the kill sect in Monster Hunter Rise, this movement right here would allow us to run away from some serious injuries after getting knocked down by a monster, getting away from what we call a punishment for a mistake in reading a monster's moveset. And that is where the fun starts to show in the mechanics. Because right here, when we get onto the mount, we can see our hunter unequipping basically his greatsword and changing to a heavy bowgun, allowing us to strategize even more. Because having two weapons now means we can use maybe a bowgun and a greatsword, or a hammer and a greatsword. A lot of combinations are available. You can bring an hammer for the stun and then use a greatsword to cut weak parts of the monsters. You can cut off its tail, because with the hammer you can't, but you can break off his horns with a hammer because the greatsword can't. The same thing can be said about bowguns, both light and heavy, because having a greatsword and an heavy bowgun with maybe sleep code ammo can give you the possibility to put a monster to sleep, have your greatsword out, and then using a barrel and a true charge slash to inflict AV damage on said monster. The options are, of course, infinite. It's based on your playstyle, but now not having to get to camp and using, the enter the tent and then change your equipment and then get out of the tent and get back to the monster. The fact that you can just change because your mount already has your secondary weapon on him, it's way cooler. And I think this is the best addition they made and showed so far. Before you tell us that, and now that I look at him, it looks... you look a lot like the Caravaneer, don't you? Why is it black and white? Are you blonde? I'm getting distracted. I'm sorry. So, here. This thing right here. We can see how they show the hunter getting into a position, like a skill heart for a weapon. And then, while the monster is about to attack, we attack at the same time and rule him back. Now, this can go two ways. The first way is that this is available for all weapons, meaning that if you have good sense of timing, you have a good knowledge of a monster's moveset and how long an attack takes to land, and, the positioning skills to not be in the wrong place to perform this kind of thing, or this parry. It could be very cool, but also be very, very, let's say, malused or abused by some players, or of which already have experience with, let's call them parries in Monster Hunter. And the players I'm referring to are Charge Blade players like myself, who have to use a literal parry, almost, which is guard points, that consist in using your shield at the last second during an attack to charge your files and give you the possibility to do a true discharge slash without having to combo it with a triangle circle 3 times. And we also have the, of course, longsword players that in Rise basically had a silk skill that was a parry, and every time they used the slash as an attack was about to land, they would deal additional damage. The second thing that could be is that this is an exclusive for charged weapons, meaning that if you charge your attack and release at the right time, then you can get this stun effect. And I'm talking about, the charged blade, the side slash, or the greatsword charge slash. A hammer charge the bonk, let's call it. And even a seathed attack EI with a longsword could have this effect. What the second installment of this skill entails is that it's limited to some weapons, while the first option gives us freedom to use it with every possible weapon. Of the two, I prefer the first option. Right here, we have this peculiar attack. Apart from this charged explosion with the heavy bowgun, here we can see our hunter throwing a rope of some sort from its slinger to attack the stunned monster. Right here, you can see the rope and the hook that are starting from his slingshot arm, and then the hook just hooks into the monster's face, and the hunter slams it with his sword. This is another new move.
Selected you as a lead hunter for this expedition.
Thank you, sir.
And then that. Here we see our hunter speaking. For the first time in Monster Hunter history, we will not have a mute protagonist. And the question was, wait, if the protagonist is not mute, does it mean we do not create our character? Well, for that, you're gonna have to go to the site section of this video, where we are going to read from the official Capcom Monster Hunter Wild site.
Sir.
And that is how it ends. Of course, as last pieces of showcase, we have a classic SOS flare from World and Rise, where it makes a quest available for other players that want to come help in case of an emergency. And as the footage shows, it seems that hunting quest will still be limited to only 4 persons per quest. Last thing, but not least important, it's the last skin or skill we see here. It looks as our hunter is blocking the monster's mouth with his greatsword, that the other hunters can keep attacking. Now, when you're in solo, this, if it is a skill and not a cutscene for a specific monster, it's basically useless. For the simple reason that if I am stuck with a sword in his mouth, I cannot deal damage, making me presume that this skill is, if it is a skill, it's only useful in multiplayer. Because, well, one, it's stalling, let's say, the monster, the others can keep dealing damage. And then, of course, the video ends with a title drop. And Capcom gives us a not date of release, but at least a window of 2025 that we already knew from the Game Awards teaser, but now we have confirmation that the game will be available on PS5, Series X, and Steam, hopefully all at once on day one. Now, this trailer had a lot shown. This was one of the best, if not the best moment in the PlayStation showcase that happened 2 days ago on the 30th of May. Now, in just a couple days, there will be also the Summer's Game Fest, meaning that we should probably have some more information that, based on how much more it will be, we will be covering. For now, let's move on to the official Monster Hunter Wilds site itself. And here we are on the official Capcom Monster Hunter Wilds site. As you can see, the site has, in my opinion, as you know, a guy that studied web page development, a pretty neat opening to it, showing us the biomes we saw in the trailer and giving us the options or an index to go to specific info on the site itself. Starting off, we get an introduction in which we get immediate confirmation that the environments will indeed be dynamic in nature. Again, we do not know if this dynamism will be a timed cycle or will be story quest dependent. After that, we have our usual hunting tips to hunt to get better gear, and the devs call this the most evolved and immersive Monster Hunter experience to date. After this, we get what most Monster Hunter players will get, because if you finish Monster Hunter World and at least started your Master Rank journey with Iceborne, there are 2 Palico skins inspired by Monster Hunter World and Iceborne that will be available for those that have saved data on your preferred platforms of finishing Monster Hunter World and at least starting Iceborne. Now let's start taking a look at hunting. Hunting action is bigger than ever. New moves, a huge variety of weapons and equipment, and more ways to use monsters and environments to your advantage. As you can see, the page greets us with the following description of new moves, equipment, and ways to use monsters. Now, the only 2 main points on this section of the site are the return of the slingshot that we have right here. The slinger returns as an indispensable hunter tool. Use it to fire rocks, seeds, and other natural ammo, or even use it to trigger objects in the environment, much like what we did with Monster Hunter World. The hook slinger is, on the other side, the newest addition. The hook slinger is the newest evolution of the slinger, allowing you to gather all types of materials from a distance. It can be used while mounted on a sacred, and can even be used to interact with certain environmental objects or trigger traps. Now, we have the name sacred here, but we will discuss it when we get to the actual page on the site. Focus mode. This is what gives us an explanation about that kind of parry and that special new move of the greatsword. Focus mode allows you to aim your attacks and guard abilities. You can also use focus mode to pinpoint monster weaknesses, which can be targeted with special new attacks that will deal big damage, by making it easier to space yourself and aim your attacks during hunts. Focus mode will make it even easier for players of all stripes to get in on the hunting action. Now, here we have to stop for a second. Because focus mode will make it even easier for players of all stripes. Now, what it means by making it easier could be good or could be bad. Now, we all know that Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter World did some changes to help get the game to a broader audience, making it easier, giving some quality of life options to not be as, slow and enraging with item management and other things as the older games, and also got a little bit more proactive in helping players with hunts. Now, here we have this focus mode that seems to be exactly that, but brought another level up. Monster Hunter has always been a game about positioning and timing. If you want to hit a monster and you do it when you're not supposed to, you're going to get hit back and be punished because of your mistake. If you, on the other hand, are good with positioning, dodge a very slow or long-term attack of a monster, you can punish the monster and deal a great deal of damage before having to dodge the next attack. Positioning is also very important for parts breaking. And parts breaking is usually what you want to do because A, it deals more damage to monsters, and B, because based on what you break of the monster, you get specific materials that, well, you can check on Hunter notes, but that's another whole thing. And then we get back to focus mode that seems to take positioning and throw it out the window, making it maybe too much easier to hunt in a specific way. Now, if this works on everything, it's bad. Because going back to positioning, if I have a tall monster and I want to have a material that is dropped by its head or tail and it keeps both of them up, not bringing them down almost never, then I have to wait for a specific attack. I need to bait the attack, and then I have to focus my attacks on the head and or tail. If focus mode doesn't work only for on the ground monsters, let's say, and if I have a tall monster, I can just focus mode and attack even the tallest parts like the tail or the head or the wings, then that will be a oversimplification of a mechanic that required specific sets of learning and skill to be acquired, making it, yes, maybe easier for players outside of the Monster Hunter fandom to hunt, but also making purists of Monster Hunter more mad than they already were for the simplifications in the other two games. There's nothing more on the hunting section. One other important thing is the iconic 14 weapons are of course back. Greatsword, longsword, sword and shield, dual blade, hammer, hunting horn, lance, gun lance, switch axe, charge blade, insect glaive, light bowgun, heavy bowgun and bow are all back. And sadly, for some of you who play all the Monster Hunters, and sadly for me as well, Frontier's weapons have yet to have a return. If you don't know what I'm talking about the magnet and the tonfas that were exclusives for Monster Hunter Frontiers, an MMO version of Monster Hunter that was available a couple years ago. Because if I say the year, I'm gonna disintegrate. There's still hope, of course, because who knows, maybe with a future Monster Rank expansion for Wilds, we could be getting finally the tonfas and or the magnet back. Even if the magnet especially needs some major tweaking to be used in a base Monster Hunter game and not an MMO. Now, for the next section, we're going to go to characters. New allies and rich cast of characters will be support in your journey as a hunter. First of all, our story takes place in the Forbidden Lands, an unexplored region where the guild has sent a hunter and their allies to investigate. Here we have the name of our new region, the Forbidden Lands. Now, they say that the guild sent us to investigate, but if we can tell something from the trailer, is that we are there to most possibly, as maybe that is just a quest, you know, cutscene or something, but we appear to be looking for someone. Now, first character in line, of course, is a hunter. The protagonist and the character you play as a hunter assigned to the Forbidden Lands Research Commission. The job is to help investigate this unexplored land. As we already said, fully customizable, man or woman, fully voiced this time around for the first time in the franchise. And what makes me mad is this. Coolest armor I've ever saw, with a cap, a hood, you know, looks trench coat and everything. And then you look at the woman armor and you cry if you like to play female characters in Monster Hunter. Like me. I hate this armor. It looks bad. This is cool. This is bad. Why don't you like me, game? Of course, we have palicos, a feline cat-like creature fully capable of speaking with people, who is the hunter's trusted palico partner. They'll provide invaluable hunting and moral support. In the trailer, we actually hear him speaking. And even though in most of the games you usually don't hear palicos speaking clearly because A, they speak Monster Hunter language that is just grunts and mouth sounds, and B, because most of the other times they just don't have voice at all. Next, Halma, the Hunter's Handler, one who manages monster hunt requests, permissions, and quests. She'll accompany you out on quests and provide valuable support and knowledge. She's a very, very beautifully designed character, simple but recognizable, and has some sort of resemblance to another glasses-wearing, book-reading handler we saw, and I'm talking about for you, of course. But nothing more is given to us on the side. They're very much keeping almost everything about the characters for the game release and or another occasion. Here we have to stop and talk for a bit. Now, Gemma. Gemma is a smithy with the Research Commission. She'll take care of all your weapons and armor crafting needs. Let's go straight to the full art of Gemma. Now, I don't know if you're a seasoned Monster Hunter player. When you started playing Monster Hunter, maybe you started with 3, or maybe you started with World. Oh, heck, you might even have started with Rise. But if you started from some time ago, let's say, in Monster Hunter 4U Ultimate, there is a specific character called Little Miss Forge that is your smithy for the caravan. Now, Gemma has a very, very close resemblance to said character of Monster Hunter 4U. Not only is she blonde, blue eyes, midriff, and has the yellow pants and a little orange tube top under that button-up gilet, but she also has that blue scrunchie that could very well be used as a scrunchie now, while she used to wear it as a headband as a kid. Other very important details are, 1, the plushie on the back of her belt. It's very, very reminiscing of the plushies that were made by the Guild Mom in, you guessed it, Monster Hunter 4U. And then the last, and what really, really sells it to me, is the jacket. Now, that red jacket, if you didn't play Monster Hunter 4U, can't mean anything. But if you did play Monster Hunter 4, then you know that is the Caravanier's jacket. The one that kind of gives a start to everything in Monster Hunter 4, and that probably gifted it to Gemma when she grew up. This is the very point that could make you say, yeah, this is connected to 4U in some way. But, as always with speculations, and I will always say it when I do videos like this, during speculations, it's actually safer to say, yes, these make sense as connections, but as I don't have the game under my hands, I don't know the story even a little bit, I can't say they do be connections. They could just be callbacks, little Easter eggs, let's say, to call back to the 4U era, and not actually mean anything. Even if she does resemble her, she is a Smithy and does have the jacket, plushie, and looks of the character from a specific game. Even though we do know that in World, the rookie from 4U, the excited cadet, I think, was the new recruit, appeared older. So the returning of characters isn't a surprise. Next character we have on the list is Nata, and I'm gonna be serious with you. Of course, they're not gonna say anything. A mysterious young boy that accompanies you on your journey? Yes, because he is going to be main plot reasons, main connection to what's happening, monsters, final monster, and all that jazz. So I would have been very much more surprised if we had a description for him. But we don't. And that makes absolute sense. They have nothing to say against it. Next is my favorite part, the monsters. Each monster is unique and fully realized, featuring fascinating adaptations they've developed in order to survive the harsh realities of their environments. First of the new monsters is the Doshaguma. This ugly little lion-looking thing is a rugged, territorial fanged beast that exhibits an aggressive disposition and inhabits a large range, sometimes observed in large packs. Now, this last line is very important because the sometimes observed in large packs means one of two things. First, if not specified, monsters are found by themselves, and if specified, they are in packs. Or it's the other way around, being that if someone says it can be in packs, then you can find packs, but if it's not mentioned of packs, then the monster is always alone. Of course, this is a conjecture. Maybe even a monster that doesn't say lives in packs, then you can find a pack of, but that would be very strange because you would need to prepare in a different way to fight a monster that has a pack of similar ones instead of fighting maybe a Chatacabra, the newest monster and the love of my life now because it looks so squishy and frog oriented. I love him with a passion. He looks very, very good. And again, I can see how both the Doshagama and Chatacabra can appear to be, quite simple in design, but they are the first monsters they've shown. Maybe they have some crazy looking elder dragons hiding behind some stuff, and it could be mind-blowing when they release the game. We could have some new fabulous elder dragons. But speaking to the Chatacabra, a large species of amphibians that use the adhesive quality of their saliva to affix stone to their forelimbs in order to power up their attacks and most possibly bash your hunter's skull in. Of course, there's just two monsters, both of which happen to live in the main habitat we saw in the trailer that we have a name for now, and that is Windward Plains. A Living World, the section that we can reach straight from the monster section, is where we have some confirmations about the dynamism of the ambience, the biomes, and the monsters that live in them. A world with an ever-changing climate. Life here has learned to adapt to the harsh environments, the wildlife developing its own ecosystem, and the humans developing their own culture within it. This last phrase leads me to kinda believe that there might be settlements around in the game. But why am I talking about settlements? Now, if we move to changing environment section, each hunting locale features an environment with two dynamically changing identities, one in which the region is harsh and unforgiving, where ravenous monsters fight for limited resources, this one, and another in which the region is vibrant and brimming with life. Changes in environment also means changes for the monsters and wildlife that live there, so you'll be running into new surprises around every corner. This phrase kinda gives to me 100% confirmation that climate and biomes change dynamically. The real question is that this picture right here with the thunders appears to resemble what happens during a sandstorm. The options are as follow. Again, two options. The first one is with a specific quest of the main story, maybe. The sandstorm changes the biome, and then you find from greenery to desolation, or from desolation to greenery. The second option is that, like the day-night cycle of Rise and World, we have a dynamic weather, let's call it weather, system, meaning that we have a day and night cycle, but also a weather cycle. So there can be a sandstorm that will bring the rigorous ambience to destruction, or we can have maybe rain and storms, and that will bring the deserted section to being a grown, water-filled biome again. This also says that changes in environments, changes for the monsters and wildlife that live there, meaning that possibly some hunts and or quests would require you, maybe with a waiting mechanic or time passing thing, to wait for the biome to change before actually taking up a quest. Of course, I hope they're not going to make us wait to the biome to change by itself, especially if it's randomized between a sandstorm and a normal storm, because otherwise getting quests done would be very, very, very pedant and boring, because you would have to wait for the biome to change to get the monster you need to do that hunt. This is also another piece that gives us space to talk about, is Monster Hunter Wilds going to be open world? Herds are nothing more than packs of large monsters and small monsters, so nothing much to say about that. The mount is what gives us the last piece to talk about how the maps are going to be. The sacred, which is our chocobo, cooler chocobo looking mount, is an animal mount whose exceptional agility will provide the hunter with crucial support out on hunts. The well-developed sense of smell allows it to guide you automatically to your current objective or any location you select on the map. This right here, these two lines of dialogue we get, lead me to believe that yes, Monster Hunter Wilds will be open world. Going back to the settlements and the, dynamic weather, most possibly what is going to happen is we will have different means of fast travel around the world map. We will have different settlements that are going to be considered like HQs or bases where everyone is waiting at. And then we have the problem of campsites during quests. But if you can bring 2 weapons and you have them on your mount, then your mount becomes a mobile campsite. And if your mount is a mobile campsite, that means that campsites that are static are not exactly needed at this point, like in World of Rise. You just use your sacred as a mobile camp. And that could be very cool or very, very dumb. Because expanding Monster Hunter to the point of a real open world, like serious hunting game, can be the coolest thing ever. But it needs to be done with some real attention to detail tweaks. Because if you do it wrong, it could be too dispersive, the quest could be too difficult to get, and if you don't get, linear progression to some players, they start to lose interest and don't play the game, too much side stuff, and they start to get mad. Yes, Monster Hunter was never for people that don't want to do optional stuff and farm and all that stuff. It's the main appeal to the game for me and for many others. But a lot of people would not like especially that. Most people don't like it in older games that have open map sites, let's say, that are kind of open maps but small. If you give them a whole world map that works with maybe a scout fly scent thing on the sacred, then they could find it a bit too dispersive. I don't mind. I'm open to try this, and I'm very happy to see Monster Hunter trying to challenge itself every time a new game comes out. From the sacred, you can also use your slinger and certain kind of items while mounted, just like Palamutes in Rise. You can sharpen comfortably, use various items like potions and demon drugs, and eat stuff. And here we have your sacred isn't just for travel, though. You can also stash an extra weapon in its weapon sling, allowing you to switch between 2 weapons of your choice while out on a hunt, making it official that yes, we will be able to have 2 weapons at all times on a hunt, making us very, very open about having more strategies during hunts, like maybe a bowgun and a great sword, or an armor. You use a heavy bowgun with sleep ammo for the monster to sleep, get your great sword out, true charge slash, damage, and the monster is gone. That could be very interesting, and I'm already very excited to try it out. The last piece is the Windward Plains screenshots and the fact, as a member of the research commission charged with investigating the Forbidden Lands, the Windward Plains is the first new hunting locale you'll visit. The plains are a diverse region filled with sandy desert, swaying grasslands, twisting rock formations, and all the other natural wonders. Of course, we have the 2 new monsters here that inhabit the Windward Plains, as we saw in the monster section. And here we have some screenshots of stuff we actually saw, and then a cave that is not shown in the trailer for much. Maybe it's where the Chatacabra is located, but this is not shown. And that's where the site ends with his information. Nothing more is given to us at this moment. And after talking about our badass newest version of a Chocobo, we are done with this analysis or talk, call it how you want. I'm trying for the first time. This is a warm-up, okay, for what's to come, and I hope to get better and better at it the more I do it. Now, this trailer is very good and was actually one of the best, if not the best section of the State of Play, because it showed us in just 2 minutes, mind you, characters, glimpse of story, enough to theorize on, with Gemma and his dress, and even some gameplay, both classic and new in mechanics and looks. Then of course you can go read more on the official site to gather some more info. Thing I actually always suggest after a presentation of a game, especially of a game you love or are interested in, to know more about gameplay and sections in the trailer that were not clear. Usually they tend to use the sites to explain some stuff, and because of the extra info, it can give you a clearer idea of if you would like the game or not. But for short, Monster Hunter Wilds is one of the games I have the most hype for at this moment. Of course, before judging anything, we need to play the game ourselves and judge it for what the mechanics and the new style they're going for it's going to be. But from the trailer alone, apart from some doubts about the oversimplification that could or could not, I repeat, could or could not be happening in the future of the franchise, with, focus mode and making the game more approachable for more, let's call them casual players, I cannot wait to discover more about the game, both in terms of gameplay evolution, mechanics and new monsters, and as one of the little amount of people that do pay attention to it or care, the main storyline, especially if it connects to For You. And of course, we do happen to be in June as of this recording, so it already has been announced that more Monster Hunter Wilds will be present during Summer Games Fest, happening on the 7th of this month, just a couple days apart from when this comes out. This also meaning that other games will be announced, and that this, as far as I'm concerned, apart from being the first episode, is also a warm-up for the next videos of the same kind to come, especially if Remedy Entertainment stuff happens to be announced during the Summer Game Fest. And of course, not only that, but we do have a full week with a Xbox showcase as well, a PC showcase, even if I don't think we'll have anything too mind-boggling or that I will want to cover in that presentation. And I think an unannounced Nintendo event might be happening sometime this or next month. That was all, and as a first try, I don't know how we can consider it to be or to have gone. It's literally the first time I use a script on, screen, and the PNGs in here, you're just hearing me and my dumb flipped up English. So let me know if there are some changes or some things that can be upgraded. Maybe if you prefer if we do a blind reaction to the trailer instead of organizing and scripting it. But hi guys, thank you so very much for watching. If you like the content, as I said, consider leaving a like, subscribing for more stuff like this, actually, because now that I decided to bring this into the mix, I'm going to make it a habit whenever a trailer deserving of my attention comes out. If I don't care, I'm not going to make it. But this is all for now. And as usual, I'll see you all again when we go back to look at the stars. Dismissed.